Good morning, everybody. It's a lovely, bright, sunny day here in London. And I welcome you all to this session this morning. And we're going to talk about your future as managers. And it's about your personal development, your professional development as managers, so that you can progress up the career ladder. You've already started a wonderful career at IIHM. The future's bright, the future's IHM, as I always say. So, but to become an effective manager and to manage people and the resources, you have to manage yourself. And you have to know yourself. You have to analyze yourself, truthfully what you are and how you can improve, your weaknesses and your strengths. And this is necessary so that your self-development improves. And by doing this, you can achieve good job satisfaction. And managing your own resources as to meet the objectives of the role of being an effective manager. And we want you to be an effective manager. So you must know yourself. You must be true to yourself and maximize which assists the potential manager to develop and earn the respect of those you will manage. You want to gain respect as a manager. And it's not difficult. It can be quite difficult to assess your own personality because we're all unique individuals. And it's not always easy to change. So therefore, there's a self-analysis guide that we use. So the category or type of person you are. So if you're a careful, neat perfectionist, self-disciplined, accurate, aggressive, you may find it difficulty in delegating. You worry too much and you always go on the defensive. If you're always agreeable, self-effacing, frustrated, peaceful, unassuming, easily discouraged, you may find leadership hard and become discouraged in difficult situations. On the other hand, if you're reserved, quiet, pessimistic, you distance yourself, but you're imaginative and remote, you may be shy and unsociable and not good at dealing with people. If you're restless, erratic, tense, impetuous, quick, highly strung, you can be seen as impatient, intolerant, and aggressive, and may need to learn to calm down. If you're independent, stubborn, argumentative, informal, uninhibited, you may be an effective delegator, but unreliable and not good at making decisions. So, you may need to look at your strengths and your weaknesses. Having assessed your strengths and weaknesses, you may need or what you need to do to acquire to be self-fulfilled, self-satisfied, to deliver your effective management role. In hospitality and catering, because of the variety of roles, most people's needs can be met. And these needs include to achieve, to be friendly, show off our personality, be tenuous, to be free of controls, to have power. A manager has power, to need sympathy, to seek knowledge, to be orderly, and in hospitality, to show care. Part of being hospitable is obviously to show care. But who are you? Who are you? Having concluded the kind of person you think you are, which may or not be the same as others see you, the way we see ourselves is not always the way others see us. Write down your qualities, your failings. Endeavour to change those you think should be changed. How do you need? What are your weaknesses? How do you need to improve? And to be successful in achieving this, it is essential to be positive and really want to prove. Say to yourself, I want to be an effective manager. So, it is important that we have and we are clear about the benefits we want to gain. How do you want to gain? Know what you want and when things do not go as expected. Have other options and seek the advice and help of others. Sometimes we have what's called a 360 appraisal scheme where we ask others, what do you think of me, of what I'm doing? How can I improve? How do others see us? So, the skills of management. You are going to be skillful managers. Yeah, you're going to be very skillful managers. And it's important as skillful managers that you include self-management, how you manage yourself, time management, decision-making, communication, and resource management, how you manage resources. Effective management starts with how do you see yourself? How do you see yourself? How superiors see you? And how the people that you are responsible for, how do they see you? First impressions are vital. Are vital as your development as a manager. Firstly, what constitutes a good manager? Think about what makes a good manager. Look at some people that you've worked for, some managers that you've worked for. What makes them a good manager? What makes them a poor manager? What qualities does a good manager have? What attitude and values are desirable, which are the basis of which to improve? And there are so many bad managers out there today because they don't understand their strengths, their weaknesses, and how they need to improve. What do companies look for when you're going for an interview? Firstly, honesty, and the key word is integrity. Integrity, loyalty, and consciousness, willingness and cooperativeness, courteous and caring, orderly, of a neat appearance. Smartness is very important in the hospitality industry. Able to lead and set an example, and that you are enthusiastic and punctual. But in hospitality, it's about being passionate. It's important to be passionate. Are you passionate about hospitality? You must come across as passionate, as enthusiastic, and having the right attitude. So many employers say to me, can I get people with the right attitude? And what I've seen in India, for students in India, They have the right attitude. Unlike many Europeans, the Indian students are ahead of the game, because I keep saying they have this natural inbuilt ability of hospitality. To progress, it is essential to be able to clarify roles, to focus on key issues, and to specify targets and standards. That is, to know what direction you are going in and how you intend to get there. And what you should say to yourself, where do I want to be in 5 years' time? What do I want to do in 5 years' time? Where do I want to be in 5 years' time? In 10 years' time? Write it down. Think about it. And how am I going to get there? And hospitality is so much about teamwork in the kitchen, in the front of house, because together we can achieve more. And as a team, you need to plan to the ideas of team members so that you can be effective. As a team, you can be effective. And in management, we have to take a lot of difficult decisions. A lot of managers do a lot of talking, but they don't necessarily do the action. And it's important to do the action. Actions need to be taken. Prevarication, hesitancy, lethargy do not help decision making. However, act by having priorities right and using resources, manpower, financial equipment, and commodities effectively. Take action. Be decisive. Do not be laid back. Be forceful. So many managers are frightened to make decisions. And when they make decisions, and perhaps sometimes it can be the wrong decision, they don't own up and say, well, actually, I got it wrong. But this is how I'm going to put it right. I remember that, in my career, I've got a lot of things wrong. And staff have said to me, I think you've got it wrong. And then I say to them, how do we put it right? And they come up with an idea. Right, let's do it. Never admit that you are never wrong. Because life, we do not always get things right. But how we learn from our mistakes. Analyze the problems. What is the problem? Give feedback and receive feedback. Use the information to persuade others and thus improving your own performance. And always get feedback. Always look at feedback. How am I doing? Analyze. How am I doing? That's why we have appraisals. Appraisals is about how we see others and how others see us. Positive, balanced management. Remember that. Positive, balanced management. Absolutely crucial. Positive, balanced management. To improve performance, clear, positive thinking and the ability to generate enthusiasm may be helpful. As a manager, as a hospitality manager, you must be enthusiastic. A flexible approach. Sensible or sensitive to others' feelings. Empathy and expectations are capable of inspiring them and others and developing confidence in your own ability. And that's important. As I've said to you before, you must have self-belief and you must have confidence in your own ability, because you will get there. And this is what we call the positive, balanced management. Believe in yourself. And so many managers out there, particularly a lot of chefs, head chefs, lack self-belief. Improve your performance by believing in yourself. And decision making. And that's important, decision making. How do I, as a manager, make effective decisions? Define the aim of what you want to do. Collect all the information. List possible courses of action. Evaluate the pros and cons, the strengths and weaknesses. Examine the consequences and then make the decisions. Act on the decision, monitor and review. And I say you review because very often perhaps we haven't made the right decision and we could do things better. At the moment, during this pandemic crisis throughout the world, many decisions are being made in different countries. And the British government have made decisions and people are questioning those decisions. Could they have been better? And like decisions across the world, they're under scrutiny. But we have to make decisions. But we have to analyze them and monitor. And if it's not the right decision, we have to put it right. And the 5 ways to improve decision making. Consider what is at stake. Well, during this pandemic, there's a lot at stake. And what they're doing at the moment, all countries around the world are assembling the facts. Facts about this virus. They are looking at alternatives to the lockdown, how to ease the lockdown. Same thing as a manager in a hotel. You consider what's at stake. And managers now in the hospitality industry, post-COVID, post the pandemic, are saying what's at stake? Our survival. We want to reopen. And what are the facts? The facts are we have to do social distancing. We have to reduce contact. We have to reduce the numbers in the kitchen and in the restaurant. And what are the alternatives? The alternatives is if we don't, we won't have customers and we won't have a business. Explore the pros, cons, and risks about reopening. And all the tourism section throughout the world are looking at the pros, the cons, and the risks. Lots of discussion going on, lots of decisions going on at present about the pros, the cons, and the risks of opening. Because they want to choose the best path to take action. They want to choose the best path to survive in their business, to grow their business post the lockdown and the pandemic. And that's the 5 clear ways to decisions. Firstly, know what a decision has to be made and consider the situation and possible solutions. And again, the tourism industry are trying to solve all the possible solutions to get people traveling again, to get the restaurants open. Traveling, they're talking about now screening in airport. And it's a call now for all the airports around the world to have one system of screening whereby when you go to an airport, you are tested, you are screened, your temperature is tested. And if you have a temperature, you don't get on that plane. That's what they're talking about. It's a possible solution. And how that aim will be achieved, how long it will take. And of course, there's cost. There's a cost to screen. there's a massive cost to screening. But if we don't do some sort of screening at airport, what is the alternative cost? The alternative costs that we're not going to open up, that we're not going to boost tourism. So that's what's going on at present. And there's a lot of thinking going on at the moment. How we open up hospitality, how we get the economy going, how we get hotels open. And requires three aspects to make it effective. You have to analyze breaking the whole into small parts and complex into simple elements. Analyze it all. How you keep simple, how you keep staff safe, how you keep customers safe, how you reduce costs. Holistic thinking, thinking of the entirety, the opposite to analyzing, thinking about the whole business. And again, looking at airports throughout the world, they're looking holistically about all the airports throughout the world, having one system of screening and valuing the judgmental and critical aspect. Valuing, is it working? Does it have value? And these discussions are going on all over the world, all over tourism world, all over the hospitality world at the moment. But you will find this type of thinking day to day when you are managers in the industry. Because we have to make effective decisions. And to make effective decisions, you have to look at all your thought processes. Decisions based on intuition, instinct, or emotion will not produce logical decision making. And at the moment, they're looking at all the data, all the facts, all the statistics. Day to day, we are being bombarded with statistics. But statistics are important and data is important. You can't think that, oh, it's just a good idea on intuition or instinct. You know, we've got a leader in America that at a press conference thinks that you should drink disinfectant. There's no basis for that. It'd kill you. Today, they are trying anti-malaria drugs or preventative drugs for malaria to treat the COVID-19. But they're doing trials, they're collecting data, and that will be logical decision making. Now, there's a lot of difference in fact and fiction. We have to base all our decisions on fact. As managers, and you will be managers, we have to base all our decisions on fact. Before making a decision, make sure you have the facts, you have the statistics, you have the data. What to do? Value judgments are affected only if you are aware of the prejudices that may affect your decision and acknowledge them and learn not to be prejudiced. Prejudice simply means to prejudge. So you say to someone you're prejudiced. Yeah, just 1 second. Vita, I'll bring you back. I'm just doing a lecture in India on YouTube. Say it, bye. Yeah. Basically, your decision must not be based on prejudice. Prejudice means you prejudge someone. If you're prejudiced against someone or you're racial prejudiced, you're prejudging before you know that person. So we must never prejudge. Also, you need to know any codes of values which are needed by the establishments, such as the legal requirements. What legal requirements? and social behavior codes and company procedures. What are your social behavior codes and company procedures? The values of your company, very important. The values of IIHM, very important. And the values of IIHM is quality education. It must be quality education. It must be international education. It must be relevant education. And that's important because it values and value integrity and honesty. And there are many different decision-making styles. Autocratic. That's important. Important to know what autocratic is. You make decisions without discussion, purely on the information that you have. Information finding. When a manager does not have enough information or skill, he asks other people and then makes the decision. So you have information finding. When a manager does not have enough information or skill, he asks other people to then make a decision. The decision-making styles that you have are consultation. And consultation is when we discuss with other people what needs to be done. The situation is explained to a group who generate and evaluate solutions and make recommendations. And then you as leaders make the decision. Negotiation. Negotiation is when we talk to people and we negotiate. The group are provided with information and they then negotiate a solution which is then acceptable. So in other words, a consensus of what to do. And what's important as a hospitality manager is delegation. Hospitality, hotel manager, there are many departments, and the manager oversees all these departments. But much of the work is delegated to the heads department, who then delegate it to the staff under their control. And delegation, responsibility for the decision rests with a group or an individual. The manager may guide the discussion which leads to the decision, which is then implemented. So often the GM, the manager of the hotel, empowers each head of department, whether it's the chef, housekeeper, food and beverage manager, empowers them to make decisions. And they run those departments. Often there's a meeting once, twice a week with all the heads of departments. And they talk about the decisions they've made. And this is empowerment. And often that empowerment is then given to not just the head of department, but individuals within that department. So, for example, a waiter in a restaurant dealing with a difficult customer can make a decision whether to take 10% off the bill, free bottle of wine, etc. They have that empowerment to make that decision. Implementation of decision. Having made a decision, determine clear objectives and consider what can be delegated to whom and in time needed if further training is necessary. To action the decision, define it in writing, set details of progress and report back. So this is important, that when you actually make a decision, you determine the clear objectives. Be clear about the decision. What you can delegate and to whom. And the time needed for that delegation. And if you're going to delegate, does that person need training? And that's why, as a hotel manager, often you're constantly involved in training. You're constantly involved in being a learning organization. But put everything in writing, have a training manual. Everything must be in writing. As students, you know the importance of time management. To organize oneself efficiently so as to be an effective manager requires attention to controlling your time, how you manage your time. How do you manage your time? Determining your priorities is essential step to this end and can be aided by producing lists and categorizing jobs to be done, as well as using a diary effectively. So often, as managers, there's not enough hours in the day. So we are required to prioritize, to list what has to be done immediately in the short term and in the long term. But equally, you have to allocate time to certain tasks, thinking and planning about certain tasks, as well as looking your diary effectively. And in hospitality, we have to plan continuously for the expected and often the unexpected. Very important to plan for the unexpected. Did we plan for the pandemic? No. Did governments around the world, were they prepared? No. Should they have been prepared? Yes. They should have been better prepared. France has admitted they were not fully prepared for the pandemic. But we have to be prepared for the unexpected. It's no good saying it's never going to happen, because it will happen. Be prepared for problems, but allow time to prevent them if possible, and to allow time for solving them. We must allow time to solve the problems. And we know in hospitality, there are many unexpected situations that we have to deal with on a daily basis. You might think of some of the unexpected situations. Very common, a flight gets cancelled and we end up with 300 extra guests from in a large hotel from an plane cancellation. Equipment breaks down very often. So there are many examples of unexpected situations. Managers, it is a well-known fact that being a manager can be very stressful. Good managers need adequate quality sleep. You need adequate quality sleep. So, and exercise as to healthy and alert, so you're alert at work. So you need sleep, you need exercise, because you need to be alert. You need to be on top of things all the time. Time is also needed for leisure time. It's important. Time out, quality time, self-development. You need to eat well. Control of good eating and drinking habits may not be easy in the catering industry, but they require time to be allocated sensibly, not too long, too short or erratic. One of the problems in Europe with managers in the hospitality industry is alcohol control. Many managers drink too much, and there's often a problem with alcohol. But you must be sensible and control your eating and drinking. Time is the substance life is made of. Time is money. Time past has gone forever. Today's newspaper tomorrow is tomorrow's history. After this pandemic, it will be history. People will look back on the pandemic in history and look at what went wrong and what we did right and how we solved the problems. But it will be history. Today will be history. You cannot buy time, but an effective manager can organize your time and that of those whom you're responsible in a very advantageous way. So it's how we make sure we use our time sensibly. Now we have to make our decisions based on clear objectives, specific objectives, measurable, worthwhile, attainable, challenging, and times. So we look at clear objectives, specific, measurable, worthwhile, attainable, challenging, and timed. Objectives and time factor. If no time limit is stated, then time can be wasted. And often I say to people, make sure you tell people when you want that done. And I used to say to people, and continue to say, by the end of play today, I want that decision, I want that done. We've got by Friday to do it. So you give people time specific. Ideally, agreement for whom the objectives are set and the person setting them should agree on the time factor. So you say to somebody, can you do that by Friday? I want it by Friday. Focus your mind on it by Friday, within the next 24 hours, within the next 48 hours. Plan, decide, identify, organize, avoid, and prevent. A manager, a hospitality manager, has to plan each day. Decide on what are the priorities for today. Identify the immediate and long-term goals. Organize office and the paperwork. Avoid distractions. And most of all, prevent interruptions. So, delegate, organize, develop. Delegate. Make a list and delete when done. Write all your lists down. When they're done, delete. Be organized. Develop a routine. Do important jobs when you are at your best. Always do important jobs when you are at the best. When you're tired, it's no good. Be on top of everything. Time limits, plan, take notes. Time limits, plan, take notes. Set time limits so you can keep them. It's like you when you have an assignment to do, you have a date when you have to give it in. That's a time limit. Do not put off unpleasant or difficult tasks. Let others know you have a quiet time. Do one thing at a time and finish it if possible. Plan phone calls. Arrange breaks. Keep a notebook for ideas. Always jot down ideas. Now, an important one is this. Learn to say no and act. Learn to say no and think, then act. And that's important. Some managers can never say no, but you have to be able to say, no, I can't do that. Now, a big criticism of managers, one of the big criticism of managers is this. A very big criticism is they're not very good at communicating and flow of information. To develop managerial skills, it's important to communicate effectively with senior management and with those whom you are responsible. Continuously talk to managers, to other managers outside the hotel. Often there's a group of managers from different hotels who get together. Learn what other people are doing. Talk to your managers in your hotel, in your and each department. Have a continuous flow. It is essential to realize that what is communicated is understood in the way it is intended. Now, communication is only effective if the person you're talking to understands what you're saying. That's effective communication. To talk to someone and they haven't got a clue what you're on about, that's not effective communication. Effective communication is when the other person knows exactly what you are saying. They understand. That's effective communication. Likewise, it's very important that information, suggestions, commands, decisions, requests are clear and cannot be misconstrued or ambiguous. I get a lot of complaints when people tell me, I don't understand what the manager's on about. It's not clear. It's only effective if people really are, and that's why you've got to reinforce. Do you understand? Do you understand what I'm saying? Reinforce that. And as you may have heard me say before, listening is important. Listening is an art. That's why you've got 2 ears and 1 mouth. Listening is an art which needs particular attention because it's a vital aspect of effective communication. Do you understand? Information may be communicated by oral or visual means. You can talk to people, you can show PowerPoints, depending on the establishment's policy, personal preference, and the matter to convey. What's the best way of getting the message across? And today, in many cases, it's a video, it's a YouTube. The advantage of speech is that questions and discussions can clarify the issues immediately. And intonation, the way you talk, the way you emphasize points, convey more accurately what is intended. You don't mumble, you must be clear. Facial expression is very, very important. Body language, eye contact, body language. This is how you have to develop yourself. Whilst the telephone is invaluable, there is no eye contact which makes face-to-face communication more effective. Body language conveys much to both communicators which naturally can occur in direct contact situation. There's nothing like face-to-face contact. The worst thing is email, because email in while it's a communicator, people are keyboard warriors. They smash the keyboard. They can be very insulting on the keyboard, which they wouldn't do it face to face. And they wouldn't do it when they can see the intonation, the facial expressions. But they can be very rude and aggressive on a keyboard. They're what I call keyboard warriors. Try to use email as if you're talking to somebody face to face. How they're going to receive what your communication is. Written instructions reports have an advantage that there is intangible evidence of what is communicated. However, care must be taken what is written is understood by the recipient. This is what effective communication is about. Use the language that they will understand. That it's clear to the person writing the instructions. It is essential that is specific, unambiguous, and not wordy, and there are no misunderstandings. So important. And then we have to self-assess ourselves, our self-assessment. In order to improve performance, all of you have to self-assess. It is desirable to review one's current situation, how you're going to develop, as I said to you, how you're going to develop in the future. How you're going to develop in the future. Your 5-year plan. Appropriate others, such as colleagues in the establishment. Approach others, such as colleagues in the establishment. Comparison with people in similar situations and other organizations, members of associations, tutors at college, persons who have experience or experience management. Get their advice. Get their advice. Go to your tutors, get their advice. Your tutors are a most valuable resource in your self-development process. And professional development throughout your life, educational courses throughout your life, because you've got to refresh yourself. This is called continuous professional development. Be prepared for future opportunities. Use the experience of others. Always keep up with journals and use libraries. A balanced organization. Evaluate responsibilities objectively so that you understand, appreciate, and can act effectively in an efficient and balanced lifestyle. And it is always having a balanced lifestyle. Assess as a manager, when you're always a manager, your responsibilities for people, finance, development, administration, and communication. People to consider. Always consider yourself, your subordinates, people under you, your family, your department. Finance. Always review your own finance, the departments, the budgeting, the authorization of expenditure, and the control of expenditure. And you know, control of finance is absolutely essential. And consider your own development, your development within the organization, your department's development, and always we're looking for new ideas. And always review the administration, the office administration, the secretary, your department, other departments, and always your customers. So this is where we are looking at our own personal development to reflect. Yeah, and these are just some ideas on your journey in management. because management's not easy, but it's a very powerful tool. But it's important as a manager to always take people with you. And in many organizations, there is a fundamental weakness in management and leadership, because often people don't understand the empathy, they forget to assess themselves, and they're poor communicators. So I hope the whole idea of this morning is to give you some ideas and to reflect on your own personal, professional development throughout your career as hospitality managers. Thank you for listening. I want to say to you all now that it's important to study hard, important to listen to your tutors, try to get the best possible results from your time at IAHM. IHM, you are the future's IHM, and the future is international. We will overcome this crisis. It will be history. So, take care. Enjoy the rest of the day. It's a lovely day in London, and I'll see you all next week. Thank you. Are there any questions? I'll take some questions. Thank you. I hope that was helpful. Thank you. Thank you.